The Arctic, a vast and icy region at the top of our world, is changing rapidly. For centuries, it has been a place of harsh beauty and unforgiving conditions, but climate change is transforming the Arctic at an alarming pace. The ice is melting, opening up new shipping routes and revealing untapped resources. This transformation has sparked a new era of geopolitical competition, with countries vying for influence and control over this strategically important region. The Arctic is home to a rich diversity of life, including iconic species like polar bears, walruses, and Arctic foxes. These animals have adapted to survive in extreme conditions, but their very existence is threatened by the warming climate. As the ice melts, their hunting grounds shrink, and their traditional ways of life are disrupted. The Arctic's delicate ecosystem is under immense pressure. The melting ice is also impacting coastal communities, many of which are home to indigenous peoples who have lived in the Arctic for generations. Rising sea levels and coastal erosion threaten their homes and livelihoods. The changing climate is also affecting traditional hunting and fishing practices, which are essential for the cultural and economic well-being of these communities. The Arctic is a barometer for global climate change, and the changes happening there have far-reaching consequences for the entire planet. The melting ice contributes to rising sea levels, which pose a threat to coastal communities worldwide. The thawing permafrost releases methane, a potent greenhouse gas, further accelerating climate change. The Arctic is a critical region for understanding and addressing the global climate crisis. Beneath the icy waters of the Arctic lies a treasure trove of natural resources. Vast reserves of oil, natural gas, minerals, and fish have long been coveted by nations, but the harsh conditions and remoteness of the region made them largely inaccessible. However, as the ice melts, the Arctic's resources are becoming increasingly exploitable, attracting the attention of countries and corporations eager to tap into this newfound wealth. The Arctic is estimated to hold trillions of dollars worth of untapped resources. The United States Geological Survey estimates that the region contains approximately 30% of the world's undiscovered natural gas and 13% of its undiscovered oil reserves. These resources, if extracted, could have a significant impact on global energy markets. In addition to oil and gas, the Arctic is also rich in minerals such as gold, diamonds, zinc, and nickel. These minerals are essential for various industries, including electronics, construction, and renewable energy. As global demand for these resources continues to grow, the Arctic's mineral wealth is becoming increasingly attractive to mining companies. The Arctic Ocean is also home to vast fish stocks, which are an important source of food and income for many communities in the region. However, the changing climate and the opening of new fishing grounds are raising concerns about the sustainability of these resources. Overfishing and damage to delicate marine ecosystems are potential threats that need to be carefully managed. The Arctic's abundant resources have the potential to bring economic prosperity to the region and beyond, but it is crucial that their extraction is done responsibly and sustainably. Environmental protection, respect for Indigenous rights, and international cooperation are essential for ensuring that the Arctic's resources benefit present and future generations. One of the most significant impacts of climate change in the Arctic is the opening of new shipping routes, particularly the Northern Sea Route, or NSR. This route, which traverses the Arctic Ocean along the coast of Russia, offers a significantly shorter distance between Asia and Europe compared to traditional shipping lanes through the Suez Canal. The NSR has the potential to revolutionize global trade, reducing shipping times and costs. The NSR typically remains icebound for most of the year, but the melting ice is extending the navigable season, making it increasingly attractive for commercial shipping. In recent years, there has been a surge in traffic along the route, with cargo ships, tankers, and even cruise ships making the journey. Russia views the NSR as a key part of its economic and strategic interests. The country has invested heavily in infrastructure along the route, including new ports, icebreakers, and navigation systems. Russia sees the NSR as an opportunity to boost its economy, increase its global influence, and project its power in the Arctic. However, the increased shipping activity in the Arctic raises concerns about environmental risks and safety. Oil spills, collisions, and other accidents could have devastating consequences for the Arctic's pristine environment and fragile ecosystems. International cooperation and strict safety regulations are essential for mitigating these risks. The opening of the NSR is a testament to the profound changes happening in the Arctic, but it also presents both opportunities and challenges. It has the potential to transform global trade and connect distant markets, but it is crucial that this is done in a way that protects the environment, respects indigenous rights, and ensures the safety of maritime operations. Russia has long considered the Arctic its own backyard. With the world's longest Arctic coastline and a history of exploration and exploitation in the region, Russia is determined to assert its dominance in this strategically important area. As the ice melts and the Arctic's resources become more accessible, Russia has stepped up its military and economic activities, raising concerns among its Arctic neighbors and the international community. Russia has embarked on a significant military buildup in the Arctic, reopening Soviet-era bases and constructing new ones. The country has deployed advanced military equipment, including icebreakers, submarines, fighter jets, and missile systems to the region. These actions are seen as a clear signal of Russia's intention to protect its interests and project power in the Arctic. Russia has also made significant investments in its Arctic infrastructure, including new ports, airports, and railroads. These projects are aimed at facilitating resource extraction, supporting military operations, and boosting economic development in the region. Russia sees the Arctic as a key driver of its future economic growth. Russia's assertive actions in the Arctic have not gone unnoticed by other Arctic nations, particularly Canada. The two countries have overlapping claims in the Arctic Ocean, including the North Pole, which has been a source of tension for decades. Canada has responded to Russia's military buildup by increasing its own military presence in the Arctic, modernizing its armed forces, and strengthening its cooperation with NATO allies. Russia's ambitions in the Arctic are driven by a complex mix of economic, strategic, and nationalistic factors. The country sees the Arctic as a vital source of resources, a key shipping route, and a region of strategic importance for its defense. However, Russia's actions have raised concerns about militarization, environmental risks, and the potential for conflict in the region. Canada, with the world's second-longest Arctic coastline, has long considered itself an Arctic nation. However, in recent years, Canada has been compelled to take a more assertive stance in the region, as Russia and China increase their presence and activities. Recognizing the growing geopolitical importance of the Arctic, Canada has unveiled a new Arctic and Northern policy framework, outlining its vision for the region and its commitment to protecting Canadian sovereignty. Canada's Arctic policy is based on 6 key principles: strengthening Canadian sovereignty, promoting economic and social development, advancing reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, contributing to global Arctic leadership, protecting the environment, and strengthening science and research. These principles reflect Canada's commitment to a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable Arctic. To enhance its presence and capabilities in the Arctic, Canada has announced significant investments in its military, infrastructure, and scientific research. These investments include new icebreakers, patrol ships, aircraft, and Arctic patrol training facilities. Canada is also working to improve its surveillance and communications capabilities in the region, recognizing the importance of domain awareness in this vast and challenging environment. Canada is also strengthening its partnerships with other Arctic nations, particularly the United States. The two countries have a long history of cooperation in the Arctic, and they are working together to enhance their joint capabilities, share information, and coordinate their activities. Canada is also actively engaging with other Arctic Council members to promote dialogue, cooperation, and responsible governance in the region. Canada's Arctic policy is not just about defense and security. It is also about creating opportunities for the people who live and work in the North. The government is investing in infrastructure, education, and economic development programs to improve the lives of Northerners and create a more prosperous and sustainable future for the region. China, a nation geographically distant from the Arctic, has declared itself a near-Arctic state and is increasingly asserting its presence in the region. While China's Arctic ambitions are not driven by territorial claims, the country sees significant economic and strategic opportunities in this rapidly changing region. China's interest in the Arctic is primarily driven by its desire to secure access to resources, new shipping routes, and scientific research opportunities. The country is heavily reliant on imports of oil, gas, and minerals, and the Arctic's vast reserves hold significant appeal. China also sees the potential of the Northern Sea route as a shorter and more efficient shipping route between Asia and Europe. China has been actively investing in Arctic research, establishing research stations, and sending scientific expeditions to the region. The country is particularly interested in studying the impacts of climate change, as well as the potential for resource extraction and shipping. China's growing scientific presence in the Arctic has raised concerns among some Arctic nations about the potential for dual-use technologies and intelligence gathering. China has also been engaging in economic activities in the Arctic, investing in infrastructure projects, mining operations, and energy exploration. Chinese companies have been partnering with Russian and Canadian companies to gain access to the region's resources and expertise. These investments have raised concerns about China's growing economic influence in the Arctic and its potential impact on the region's fragile environment. China's growing presence in the Arctic has been met with a mix of curiosity, caution, and concern by other Arctic nations. While China's engagement in the region is not inherently threatening, its growing economic and geopolitical influence has raised questions about its long-term intentions and its commitment to the principles of peaceful cooperation and environmental protection in the Arctic. Indigenous peoples have lived in the Arctic for millennia, their cultures and livelihoods intricately connected to the land, water, and ice. They are the original inhabitants of this vast and challenging region, their traditional knowledge and practices honed over generations to thrive in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. As the Arctic undergoes unprecedented change, Indigenous peoples are on the front lines, experiencing the impacts of climate change firsthand and advocating for the protection of their homelands and way of life. Indigenous peoples are not simply bystanders in the Arctic's transformation. They are active participants in shaping the future of the region. They possess invaluable traditional knowledge about the Arctic environment, wildlife, and climate, which is essential for informing decision-making and developing sustainable solutions. Indigenous communities are playing a crucial role in monitoring and adapting to climate change in the Arctic. They are observing changes in ice conditions, wildlife migration patterns, and plant life, providing valuable data and insights to scientists and policymakers. Their traditional knowledge is also helping communities adapt to the changing environment, such as developing new hunting and fishing techniques or relocating settlements threatened by erosion. Indigenous peoples are also advocating for greater recognition of their rights and interests in Arctic governance. They are calling for greater involvement in decision-making processes that affect their lands, waters, and resources. They are also pushing for greater protection of their cultural heritage and traditional ways of life. The Arctic Council, the leading intergovernmental forum for Arctic cooperation, has recognized the importance of Indigenous participation and has granted permanent participant status to 6 Indigenous organizations. This status gives Indigenous peoples a voice in Arctic governance and ensures that their perspectives are considered in decisions affecting the region. The Arctic is a region of breathtaking beauty and ecological significance, but it is also a region facing unprecedented challenges. Climate change is transforming the Arctic at an alarming rate, melting ice, warming temperatures, and altering ecosystems. These changes have profound implications for the region's inhabitants, both human and animal, as well as for the global climate. The melting of Arctic ice is one of the most visible and concerning impacts of climate change. The Arctic sea ice cap is shrinking at an alarming rate, and its thickness is also declining. This loss of ice has significant consequences for Arctic wildlife, such as polar bears, walruses, and seals, which rely on the ice for hunting, breeding, and resting. The warming Arctic climate is also causing permafrost, a layer of permanently frozen soil, to thaw. Permafrost thawing releases methane, a potent greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere, further accelerating climate change. Thawing permafrost also damages infrastructure, such as roads, buildings, and pipelines, posing significant risks to communities and industries in the Arctic. The Arctic is also facing increasing pressure from human activities, such as shipping, resource extraction, and tourism. These activities can have negative impacts on the environment, wildlife, and indigenous communities. Oil spills, habitat destruction, and pollution are just some of the risks associated with increased human activity in the region. The challenges facing the Arctic are complex and interconnected, requiring a coordinated and collaborative response from the international community. Addressing climate change, protecting the environment, respecting Indigenous rights, and promoting sustainable development are essential for ensuring a healthy and prosperous future for the Arctic. The Arctic is often portrayed as a region of geopolitical rivalry, with nations vying for control of its resources and shipping routes. While it is true that the Arctic is becoming increasingly strategically important, it is essential to remember that cooperation, not confrontation, is the only path forward for this fragile and interconnected region. The Arctic Council, established in 1996, provides a crucial forum for dialogue and cooperation among the 8 Arctic states: Canada, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russia, Sweden, and the United States. The Council addresses a wide range of issues, including climate change, environmental protection, sustainable development, and scientific research. Despite geopolitical tensions elsewhere, the Arctic Council has a long history of collaboration and has achieved significant progress on issues such as reducing black carbon emissions, preventing oil spills, and protecting Arctic biodiversity. The Council's work demonstrates that cooperation in the Arctic is not only possible, but essential for addressing shared challenges and ensuring a sustainable future for the region. In addition to the Arctic Council, there are numerous other international organizations and initiatives that play a role in Arctic governance, such as the International Maritime Organization, the Convention on Biological Diversity, and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The Arctic is a shared responsibility, and all nations, regardless of their geographic location, have a role to play in ensuring its future. By working together, we can address the challenges facing the Arctic, protect its fragile environment, and promote peace, prosperity, and sustainability for the benefit of present and future generations.